here is a new program we are starting on geopolitical, economic, and technological environment. We can make an acronym out of it, but otherwise consider that certain types of environment impact us here. For example, the Ukraine conflict impacts India also. For example, shortage of semiconductors somewhere impacts us. For example, COVID at different places impacts different places depending on the availability of vaccines and other things. Drought in Africa impacts whole of the Africa and other places because of the demand. The impact on the wheat production and rice production in major exporting countries like Russia, India, Canada impacts the food security and insecurity. So even when we are in a business, we have to look at these elements of the environment and continuously study them. So let's pick up 5 or 6 elements which have happened recently. Number one is the situation in Manipur. We will not go into details of that because the parliament is likely to discuss it very soon and we will know all the dimensions. But it is an unfortunate event. That unfortunate event led to the opposition boycotting the proceedings of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, which has impacted passing of the bills. Unfortunately, therefore, many of the new bills which were introduced, for example, for minerals, rare minerals, including lithium, and the entry of private sector in it, biodiversity bill, and so on, have got passed without the benefit of the discussion from the opposition party. And of course, they are being unanimously passed. If we take the event yesterday about the Delhi Services Bill, where there is a proposed committee or commission where Chief Minister of Delhi will be chairman, Chief Secretary will be member, and another senior secretary will be member, and they'll make the recommendation to Lieutenant Governor. So this has come by an amendment in the National Capital Territory of Delhi and will impact the manner in which decision making gets done in the flood department, in the municipal departments, and so on. And this had been made out to be a big political issue, but in the end, it has got passed by the voice vote. Most of the people present in the parliament supporting it. So we will see the implication of that after the issue is discussed in the Rajya Sabha also on Monday. Now let's take a second issue of Ukraine conflict. We have covered in separate tapes till the last week where Ukraine was throwing cluster bombs on the Kerch Bridge and even directly sending drones to Moscow, etc. And Russia had started bombing the Odessa port. The issue was that the Black Sea Grain Initiative had not been approved again and expired on 17th July. Now, UN has had a view that it will create food insecurity. USA yesterday in the UN Security Council, Mr. Blinken, the Secretary of State, said that this is going to create insecurity. And USA is very good, so it will be giving some $170 million worth of grains to the 11 African countries. Now, let's remember there are 57 African countries, and there is an African Union also. Somehow in India, we don't study that much about Africa or Eurasia because we think there is not much potential there. This is absolutely wrong because the amount of natural resources which are there in Africa and Eurasia are very, very large, and only basically the news which comes in the international media, general international media is negative. Now let's come back to this, that as the agreement fell through, the prices of the wheat went up by about 8% in the market. Then after a few days, when Odessa was bombed, then there is an alternative route of going through the Danube River to the German ports, and there is the land route via the East European countries, Poland, Lithuania, Slovakia, Romania. Now that also those countries refused to take the wheat of Ukraine. Last year they exported 32 million tons. Now, why are they refusing? Because each one of them is thinking that this additional road transportation and port transportation will create logistics problems for them and the prices will go up. On the other hand, the USSR or Russia is saying that our grain should also have a free transit available, which was agreed to earlier. Now let's go to the next steps. Next steps are that India, which exports 40% of the rice, put a ban on export of non-basmati rice. Yesterday, they did another policy change with the wheat, because earlier wheat export was not allowed. Now wheat export will be allowed, or the duty will be changed. Import duty also will be changed from 20% to 10%. And immediately announcements came that India will buy about 8 million tons of Russian grain. Now, Russia is the largest exporter of wheat in the world, and its transit had been. Now, this is almost as expected, because if Russia is not given free transit, if the Agriculture Bank of Russia is not a part of SWIFT, its ships are not insurable by the Western companies, then there is not a smooth transit. Now, summarizing this, therefore, what's happening in Ukraine, whether that grain initiative was approved or not, has had an impact already on prices. Yesterday also prices went up by another 4% in the international wheat exchanges. And on the other side, if India, Thailand, and maybe even Vietnam come together, it will be like an OPEC of rice, because it will be 80% of the world exports. So this is how the impact is there of geopolitical military environment somewhere to your own shore, to your own pocket, in terms of what the price of that wheat is there, or some other things is there, like sunflower oil also. Now, if we proceed further, we have to just think in terms of what is likely to happen in the future. Now, coming to the science part a bit, few days ago there was a summit called the Semicon India 2023, which was addressed by the Prime Minister and also the Minister of Electronics, Mr. Vaishnav. And they again talked about high level of interest India has for starting the semiconductor facility. Now, before that, they had announced a policy by which they were going to give fairly large amount for the semiconductor industries to start. So there was one project which came, which was Foxconn, Vedanta, which is a very large metal trader and metal mines operator, domiciled in UK though, and these two companies were going to set it up, and finally, after approval, the deal fell through. Now, Foxconn is trying to go to Tamil Nadu to do this. Now, at the same time, this industry all over the world is going through a change, because people, especially in West, they want security, because if semiconductors are not flowing very well, then there can be a problem in making drones or aircrafts or any other security equipment, military equipment, even of course the ordinary equipment, because the production of Apple smartphones will be affected, and many other electronic products, and most of them have become electronic. Most of them have chips, whether it's a washing machine at home or a fridge or as I said, a watch or a mobile phone. So, having said this, USA has given a lot of incentives, big package of $20 billion. European Union has correspondingly again given $20 billion. Somebody would say that is it not violating the WTO guidelines? Now that's a question mark. But they have done it. And India has done it. China already has a large capacity of semiconductors, but at the lower ranges, not at below the 10 nanometer chips. India also is not able to get technology which is at the higher end. Higher, but in terms of that, lower nanometers. So these discussions are going on. Mr. Vaishnav has visited World Economic Forum many times and given the idea of how India is going to help. So the Semicon again discussed all these things, and the major players like AMD and Micron were there. And Micron is likely to put up a plant in Gujarat. Micron is the second largest company of semiconductor chips. It was started by an Indian based in Idaho, USA, and has a very, very good reputation. So they will put up a plant. And actually, they have two plants in China. They are closing one there and then bringing the other one here. So now let's see what happens, because there are people who think that this is not going to work out. The stage for India is gone, and nobody will give them technology. On the other hand, the profitability is so high that there is no reason why the companies will not come. See, another reason is, for example, TSMC, which is the largest semiconductor company from Taiwan, they have been given a big package of incentives, about $10 billion, to set up a plant in Arizona in the USA. They've gone there, they've done their work, they have started making the factory, but no engineers are available. So they will have to shut it down and think about something else. Of course, people want that there should be an alternative to such a critical manufacturer outside the Taiwan, because Taiwan, they keep on having these difficulties. Now relating all of this, one is incentives for the people to come, and second is they don't allow the semiconductors of USA of higher end to go to China or other places, for example, to India. We can't import them. And therefore, we can't make drones, for example, or we'll have to import them. But China has them. China produces the most inexpensive drones. But then India has put a ban that you can't import Chinese drones. Black market develops. So, now next point is, now this is the technological aspect in one field or two field, or let's say in terms of the grains and connecting it. And then we can discuss few other points which have made an impact. Mr. Ajay Banga of India has become the president of World Bank. He is American citizen though, and I am Ahmedabad product, and Delhi, one of the colleges here before that, and he will be making his first visit to Africa. Now, there the thing is that Africa or other countries in the global south consider that these multilateral institutions, and these are called multilateral, IMF and World Bank, have not been very favorable to them, because the manner in which they give the loans or don't give the loans, etc. So, Mr. Banga is making the visit to all these places in terms of what like. Now, on the other hand, two things have happened that for the African continent, because this noise has been made about food security there and because of Russia and all that. Last week, Russia had a summit with the African countries, and they decided to give free wheat to 6 African countries, Burkina Faso and a few others, and then also that they will be supplied wheat any which way, so they need not worry about it. And Mr. Blinken went to United Nations yesterday, blaming the whole thing on the Russian government and saying that they will also give this free. Now, the final point, therefore, here is, which we will take up later again, is that African continent now is now being charmed in a sense. USA did summit, China did summit, Japan did summit with them, and now Russia did summit with them. The image of China, Russia, and India is quite a bit. Now, that is exemplified by a recent event of a coup in Niger. And there is a base of Americans in the Niger, that country, and part of West Africa. And while doing this coup, they have started burning the French flags, something else, but they are waving the Russian flag. And it seems that Wagner Group also will be going there. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guyana, which are on the border, have said that they will support them. There is another group, ECOWAS, that is a group of the West African countries, who are saying that this coup should not succeed, and America and France are supporting them. So this is how the dynamics builds up. Now, what happens? Does it make any impact? Niger is the largest producer of uranium, called yellow cake, most of it used to go to France. Now, to the other countries which need this um, for the nuclear plants, there will be a shortage. And the second largest is Russia. So that company, Rosatom, will be selling this uranium, and even USA will have to buy it, and other Western countries will also have to buy it, and India will also have to buy it. Therefore, the dependence comes again. That is why relationship with the countries have to be smoother. At the same time, we have to understand what is happening in the global environment and how it impacts our own units, companies, and countries.